right, let's welcome in Dave Naylor and Davis Sanchez from the NFL Draft in Detroit. I said it, 6 quarterbacks of the first 12 picks, 6 quarterbacks of the first round. First time that's happened since that famed 1983 draft class. But guys, no pick more shocking than Michael Penix Jr. at number 8 to the Falcons after the Falcons give Cousins that almost $200 million deal. How stunned were you both at this selection?
What do you got to do for job security now? $200 million is not enough for job security. Look, the biggest reason this is a shocker because this team right now, the Atlanta Falcons, they're right there to win the division. Adding a piece, could possibly help them get over that hump, win the division. Also, I don't understand in this spot. You pay Kirk Cousins that kind of money. I think in the big draft board, you looked at Michael Penix, who's a great football player. Most thought between 20, 25, maybe a little bit higher. But now you pick the guy at 8. Now, let's say you're Minnesota, who needed a quarterback, who they had to have one. Maybe go up to 8 and take the 20th best player at number 8 because you have to have a quarterback. But you give a guy $200 million or $100 million guaranteed, and then jump out of that spot and take a quarterback. That was a shocker to us.
Well, and everybody agreed going into this draft, their biggest need was on defense, pass rushing. And there were pass rushers available at 8. They didn't go there. The other question I have is, look, the quarterback is always the leader of the team. Kirk Cousins hasn't even been in this locker room to be able to connect with these players and take that role. And his backup is already in the building with the 8th pick in the draft. I mean, look, we've seen situations where there's tension when a sitting quarterback has to deal with his replacement who's already on the roster. I've never seen it where before the guy has played a snap, they've already got his. And I mean, what if Kirk Cousins struggles? What the conversation become that? I think that there's kind of some very, very strange dynamics that are going to be in this team for at least the next 2 years because as they have it designed, they don't want Michael Penix to play before 2026.
Kirk Cousins is not a natural leader either. He's a great quarterback, but I've been with guys who have been on the team with Kirk, and they said he's tough to follow, but he's a good player, so that'll make it tougher.
The Chicago Bears draft, to me, seemed much more sensible. I mean, you take Caleb Williams at number 1, and then you grab Rome Odunze for him to throw passes to. And not only that, you've got Keenan Allen there, and you've got DJ Moore there. Guys, what did you think of the Bears' first round? Because it looked pretty terrific to me.
Yeah, there wasn't much to not like about that. Look, the Caleb Williams pick, we all knew that was coming. It was the one certainty. But let's put this in some context, okay? If you look at the Chicago Bears passing record book, a lot of it is still owned by a guy named Sid Luckman, who retired in 1950, okay? 1950. The Bears have never had a true elite franchise quarterback. And not only did they get a guy who's projected that way, but they got a guy who's going to go in as a number 1 overall pick in a situation where he's set up for success. You can compare him to Bryce Young going to Carolina last year and what he had to deal with on the offensive talent on that side of the ball compared to what they're going to get with Caleb Williams. And you throw in Rome Odunze, everybody knew there were 3 receivers that were considered above and beyond everybody else. The fact that they didn't have to move, they could just sit there and get the best quarterback that has been maybe available in the draft the last few years in some opinions, and then to sit there at number 9 and get a top 3 receiver from this draft, man. The Bears had a good night, an easy night, I might say.
You look at the compelling storylines of the draft. One of them we didn't think was going to happen was you look at the defensive players and the amount of money these guys lost. You saw some of the guys walking up, shaking their heads. It's that chip on your shoulder type deal. But think of it like this: we thought the first defensive player would go around 8. At the latest, I thought 8. Well, that paid you $23 million on your first contract. At 15, where the first defensive player went, that's 15 or 16 million. We're talking about $6-7 million just because there's a run on offensive linemen and wide receivers. But go back to the Bears for a minute. This was electric. 250,000 people basically in a parking lot out here. And yes, Detroit Lions fans came out. Not a good day for them, though. You're looking at what the Bears did. You saw that. And then the Minnesota Vikings. You didn't think they needed a quarterback badly. Jay, we know how good that team is, the weapons with JJ and Hawkinson. They're loaded. They needed a quarterback. They don't have one. They couldn't get it at 13. We didn't think they'd get it at that pick. They come down and they get their man. Not a great day for Lions fans because the rest of the NFC North got better.
That's good. Tough division next year, no question.
And then the Buffalo Bills had the 28th pick, guys. They trade out of that pick. Now they're picking 33rd. They've got the first pick of the second round. Dave, were you surprised that they decided to move down?
Yeah, I have, because Brandon Beane has traditionally in the first round moved up. In fact, there's only been one first round where he's run the Bills draft where he hasn't moved up. He's never moved out of the first round. Only way I can see it is that they have a receiver they like somewhere among Ladd McConkey, maybe A.D. Mitchell of Texas, McConkey, of course, of Georgia, Troy Franklin of Oregon, who actually their offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, tried to recruit to LSU when he was coming out of high school. I assume they like one of those players. They were willing to trade out, let Kansas City take a receiver, let Carolina take a receiver. I'm sure they knew who they were going to take. I would expect they're going to go receiver at number 33. And this is the advantage, Jay, of the depth in this draft. There were 7 receivers that went in the first round, but the Bills still feel that even beyond that, I think that they can get a good receiver at the start of the second.
I got a theory as well. Their depth chart needs help big time. I think that was a good move. But yeah, there's enough receivers. So they got a lot of holes to fill. We'll see where they go.
Pick up some draft capital in the way as well.
Over 275,000 fans in attendance. So they may not be happy with how the rest of their division drafted, but they showed up, and they showed up big time in Detroit. You guys were great. Thanks so much, gentlemen.